It looks so tasty with our island filled with chocolate all over the place. Well, generally speaking, I'm mostly able to take a break for able to having chocolate these days because, well, I'll explain more on that later. Hey, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? Sorry about a little bit of a tangent right there. I'm Piglet here once again, and I'm back for some more yet again for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Let's Play of Super Mario World for the Super Nintendo. So, last time we actually did fully completely done with Forest of Illusion, and managed to able to actually beat the likes of Roy Cooper, and that's about it, obviously. So, today for this episode, ladies and gentlemen, is the fact that we're going to be moving on to the 6th world in this game, and that is the forms of Chocolate Island. So, to kick things off, we're about to get started right here by the forms of the very first level in the forms within Chocolate Island, and that will have to be by the forms of Chocolate Island 1. So, as you might think about the fact that, this world is actually once again the forms of a food-related level, because as you can tell that the world suggests is actually known as, Chocolate Island. And, that's as far as I can say about it. So, I guess a few things I just want to explain about this, actually, is the fact that, well, today was actually forms of, the 1st of December in 2018, so naturally we've only got 24 days to go, up until when it gets to Christmas at one point. So even then, not long until whenever that time comes. So, anyway though, but that's not besides the point. But the reason being for that is because, well, you know how today was actually forms of the 1st of December in 2018, so naturally we've actually got ourselves a few things to want to discuss. It's the fact that, first of all, happy first anniversary of the forms of not one of my favorite Nintendo Switch games, I will admit that right away, and that is the forms of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I'm not a big fan of that game, honestly, just because, well, I just don't know what I think about it. But anyways, though, enough about that. So let's move on to the forms of Choco Ghost House. So even then, once again, I'm presuming, just like in the forms of how it does it in, in vanilla Ghost House, is the fact that once again it only has like one exit. So even then, that the catch is about the forms of only one exit in the forms of this level in particular. Actually, before I get to this, however, though, here we have ourselves the forms of these new incarnations of the forms of those fishing Lakitus, but rather than calling it fishing Lakitus, instead this enemy right here is actually called Fishing Boo, which means, well, obviously it's more likely a ghosted variation of Lakitu, but, it just usually calls it, like, Fishing Boo, according to the forms of the actual Mario Wikipedia, if you want to able to look that up. So, that's just how I think it is, so. And in here, this is where we actually introduce into ourselves the forms of those, Boo Buddies, but they aren't exactly Boo Buddy enemies, but more rather than, these Boo Buddy blocks. I'm presuming that's what this at, but obviously if you manage to able to actually just to stare at them, then this means they'll instantly transform into to themselves into the forms of those blocks, as you can see right there. So, but because of that though, we need to use those Boo Buddy blocks in order to actually just to proceed to the very end of the level, as you can see right there, and then basically that's how you can do. So yeah, not too bad. And plus, it's very simple and easy if you manage to able to noticing that. So, anyways, though. So the next level we have is the forms of Chocolate Island 2. Now, the catch is about this level right here is the fact that this level once again managed to retain not one but two exits. So, but here's the thing though, is the fact that this level has a very unique system when it comes to this particular level itself. For the most part though, it's self-explanatory for the most part though, but as soon as you're able to actually collect a certain amount of coins and how much time you have, basically what happens is the fact that it'll able to take you into a different sections of the actual level. Like for instance, if you can tell, I haven't grabbed nearly as much coins as I should have been done, and obviously this will actually takes me into the forms of that Koopa Troopa alongside with the hill section. But if you do manage to able to keep on your time count, and if you manage to able to get to that pipe for roughly around 250 seconds or more, basically it'll transport you to the secret exit. So That could be applied by the forms of the different sections here and there as well, if you really want to get the normal goal, or in this case, the secret exit. But either way, though, it's a very pretty cool secret, especially noticeable how the fact that if you really try to able to navigate for this level in particular, then, you know. So yeah, that's the secret exit is done. And now let's move on to the normal exit, where the difference is this time is the fact that we need to able to actually spend most of our longer amount of time before you're able to actually get ourselves the normal, the normal exit. Because of that though, we need to able to let our time count reach into, let's just say 249 seconds or lower. Basically, you're able to actually transport you to the normal goal. But the catch is the fact that there are two normal ways to able to actually just to get to the normal goal, if you couldn't tell. And because of that though, I'm going to be going for the ones with the forms of those familiar enemies, which are essentially both Dino Rhino and the mini enemies, which are known as the Dino Torches. Because, well, obviously the little Dino Torches can able to blow out flames, and whilst the forms of Dino Rhino will essentially just, you know, didn't act out as one. Oh, slow down. Oh, jeez. Look how slow that was as far as frame rate goes. Now we're back to fast again because of, you know, for that specific enemies alone, by the forms of those little T-Rex or something like that, basically it will just no longer show up as much as it used to be. So, or in this case Rex, what are you trying to be more precisely for that name. So, yeah, we meet again with the forms of the roulette bonus game once again, but either way though, it does seem kind of helpful at one point, but obviously I've maxed out, you know, quite a amount of extra lives I've got right now. But you know, you get the idea. So, yeah, let's move on to Chocolate Island 3, and once again, it's going to be evolved around, not one, but, 2 exits, so let's get this thing to it. Now, in order to actually proceed to continue on with the forms of the actual worlds themselves, obviously, the biggest suggestion is the fact that you obviously have to go for the secret exit, because if you go for a normal exit on this level, though, on the other hand, though, well, we'll get to that as soon as we're able to find it. So either way, yeah. And again, I do apologize by the forms of the lack of normal time daily uploading schedule at this point, just because of well, obviously just have to focusing on the forms of the, you know, the celebration of the forms of Christmas at one point, and especially noticeable with the forms of you know, the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate celebration up until, you know, 6 more days to go until whenever that game is about to come out, which, you know, really looking forward to that though, and yeah, you get the idea. Of course, I got myself Yoshi's Wings just because I let Yoshi eat the forms of that specific blue shell, so that way it would awaken the forms of the actual wings themselves. So yeah, you get the idea. Another thing I just want to point out right away is the fact that, what was I going to say for this point? Even though I'm usually constantly running out of ideas, honestly, just because of how the fact that, well, first of all, still no sign of Nintendo Direct yet, and as far as I'm aware, about the fact the matter is, though, is the fact that, well, obviously, the reason why they can't do that just yet, because they still need to focusing on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for the time. Well, nothing too complaining about that, it just sort of feels a little bit iffy about it for me, but either way. Yeah, the secret goal is by simply we need to able to only access once you get yourselves your Cape Mario, rather than just losing Yoshi, unlike any forms of Cheese Bridge area this time. And, basically just fly underneath the forms of the normal goal, and that way, you would able to actually lead us to the forms of that specific, you know, that leaps of faith, scenario, about the fact that we need to able to fly with the Cape Mario, which is pretty much mandatory if you really want to able to actually get, just to continue on with the actual level itself, and then basically that, if you would able to reach it from there, then it would able to take you to the secret goal that way. And basically the secret goal will able to actually get to you by the forms of, you know, just actually access to the forms of the continued portion of World 6 by the forms of, you know, Chocolate Fortress. So that should be pointing things out right away. But as far as normal exit goes, as I mentioned to you before, that you might find it very find it interesting, to say the least. But either way, and yeah, I really do apologize by the forms of my lack of dialogue at this point, folks, because, well, obviously still no sign of the forms of new Nintendo stuff just yet, other than the fact that, well, we've only got about 24 days to go until Christmas, and yeah, that's what I could really talk about. Other than the fact that, one thing I forgot to mention is the fact that, oh yeah, by the way, the normal exit will go all the way around back there. So yeah, you have to acquire the secret exit in order to actually continue on with the world. So, it's one pointing out. So anyways, let's move on to the forms of the next, or actually, before we get to the forms of, you know, the Chocolate Fortress, actually, I'm actually going to be going to the secret level onto that pipe over there, which leads us to Chocolate Secret. So, this usually takes place in a, you know, the cavern, type of level, and, you know, not much else to tell, other than the fact that we're actually going to be running into the forms of, you know, Buzzy Beetles, and worst of all, Charging Jugs. Oh dear lord, why do I have to deal with these kinds of jerks? So, anyway, yeah, apart from the fact that, you know how the fact that yesterday that, Kirby Star Allies has been, just recently released a new update by the forms of, just recently yesterday, about the fact that they actually includes a very challenging mode, and especially noticeable with the forms of, the final set of allies and stuff like that, based off, you know, the modern Kirby series, like, Megalore from Kirby's Adventure Wii / Kirby's Return to Dreamland for those who lived in North America, and Trazzlemania from you know, Kirby Triple Deluxe, and Susie from Kirby Planet Robobot. In addition with those kinds of stuff is the fact that I'm pretty sure there is actually this final allies you can able to actually just have it with your disposal of allies, and that is the forms of those little 3 merge sisters, which I believe this could be something related to if you manage to completely done with another dimension mode. So naturally speaking, that way you could able to actually just go ahead and unlock those 3 trios of sisters. So yeah, that's pretty cool. But even then though, I haven't really touched upon Kirby Star Allies for quite some time, because obviously that how the fact of the matter is though is that, well, that could be same applies for Mario Tennis Aces though, because either way I need to wait until whenever the update is fully updated first before I'm able to actually get back to those games again, and then once the updates are being fully accomplished with, then I would able to actually jump back into the forms of some games again. So, it's one pointing out. So anyways, once you complete the forms of Chocolate Secret level, then it will take you immediately onto Castle number 6 by the forms of Windio Koopa Castle. So, but obviously we can't do that just yet though, because obviously we'll go in these levels in a chronological order. So anyways, let's get to the forms of Chocolate Fortress. So, I wonder how tough this level could be, I wonder. Well, assuming my guess will have to be yes, because, well, sort of yes, and sometimes no at the same time, because, well, you know, you get the idea. So we got ourselves the Pencils of Doom, or in this case, these little needle, pointy stuff, which, as far as the actual obstacle's name was, when it comes to this particular, obstacles itself, I'm presuming that if I have to research on these kinds of stuff, even though I do apologize by the forms of how the fact that I haven't really looked upon too many obstacles all that much compared to the forms of how it does in the Sonic games, that I sort of noticing that. So it turns out that the Pencil of Doom is actually known as, well, for these little obstacles right here, is actually known as Spike. Well, not to be confused as the enemies from Super Mario Bros. 3, but turns out there's no Spike as far as the actual enemy itself. But that doesn't stop there on the other hand though, because, well, we've got ourselves these little thwomps over here. In addition with the returning of those, well, some smaller variations of these thwomps known as these flimps will about to make its debut once again. So, naturally speaking, this makes it a little bit more tricky of the level, but it's not too bad, I'm gonna have to admit though right away. Up until when we get to the final main world of the game, well, not including by the forms of the secret special worlds that we're about to be getting into in the next video, because, well, after this, I might as well able to actually get into the forms of, both special worlds throughout the majority of the forms of the next video, because, well, I'll decide to do those worlds first before I'm able to actually finish up the entire game, because if I do the actual main game first and able to actually just beat the final boss of the game, which, you know, turns out it will be Bowser, spoiler alert, and basically, the staff credits will able to be unskippable, just like in the forms of Super Mario RPG, and especially noticeable in other Nintendo games and stuff like that sometimes. So anyways, though, we meet again with the forms of the Resnor's boss fight once again, but, oh Christ, I'm gonna lose my, Cape Feather. Oh, I lost it! Shoot. That's pretty unfair. Especially noticeable how the fact that I really wish I wanted to grab that, Cape Feather once again, but I seem to be able to ignore that and just jump onto that platform instead. But that's okay though, because either way, we've accomplished that level no problem, so... Anyways, let's move on to the forms of Chocolate Island 4, and basically in this level is the fact that we actually come across into those somewhat of a slanted looking platforms, and we need to use those in order to actually just to proceed to the actual level. So yeah, you get the idea at this point. So anyways, let's go ahead and do I really? Yep, I just died accidentally by the forms of the chocolate water. Okay, quick error right there, sorry about that. I just need to fetch myself, not only Yoshi, but also the Cape Feathers for, Mario, so... But not only that, I also got myself my Cape Feather onto my, inventory box, as you can see right there, because what happens is, I have to, once again, replay through not only, Forest of Illusion 1, but also by the forms of Forest of Illusion 2, so that way I could able to actually grind those, particular power-ups within a fastest method. I'm so sorry, Yoshi! Ah, jeez. For a moment there, I almost gonna die by the forms of that particular chocolate water again, but either way, we've managed to make this at this point, so... You can actually get yourselves, like, a couple of extra lives due to the forms of the actual, like, the switch powers that you need to able to activate for. So, yeah, that's essentially how this will go. So, anyway, let's go ahead and just jump for those little, blocks there. Oh, Christ. Those are pretty big, fundamentally, though. But anyways, we're actually introducing to ourselves the forms of those Mega Mole. And basically, the only major differences between the Mega Mole than the forms of the Monty Mole is the fact that Mega Mole will able to not be killed at all. So, unlike in the Monty Moles, they can be easily be killed. So, either way though, very simple, self-explanatory. But the reason why I've died on the first attempt on that particular level is the fact that I did not notice of what I expected I need to do. So, anyways, let's move on to the forms of the next level in Chocolate Island. Oh, wow. I just realized about something, is the fact that we're actually going to be completing this world within one video, so, you know, kind of like how we did in Vanilla Dawn, and especially notable with Twin Bridges, so, that should be pretty swell. Anyways though, so here we go with Chocolate Island 5, and, basically, you know, it's filled with, spinies, as you can tell by the beginning of the level. Oh wow, I'm doing really bad with the tic-tac-toe, type of blocks, type of minigame, so, oh jeez, this does not look good. But that's fine, because I've only just got, like, maximum amount of, you know, 100 lives now, so either way, though, that's expecting so that might be the case, so... But obviously, if you accidentally turn off your main game, and especially reset the whole thing again, your lives count will be reset to 0, so even, or no, not to 0, but in the forms of, like, reset to 5 lives, you know, kind of like how it did in the forms of before the 3D Mario game's existence. Well, few exceptions, which are Super Mario Sunshine, and especially noticeable with, Super Mario 3D Land and 3D World, so, if that's the case, then yeah. And of course, I'll take just one up will do. That seems kind of worthless for that reward. I'm gonna have to admit it right away, because, well, I'm not usually an expert when it comes to these roulette slots blocks, but either way though, that's just how I think. Alright, so let's move on to the forms of the 6th castle in this particular game, and that will have to be Wendy-O Koopa Castle. So even then, yeah, castle number 6, indeed. Now, once we're done with all that, you think that Chocolate Island world will be completed, but it turns out there's actually going to be one last level that we can actually try to deal with after dealing with this level, though. And, yeah. And also we're now going to be introducing to ourselves not only these little saw blades. I'm pretty sure we've already seen these saw blades before, ever since enjoying the likes of in, you know, in a forest, fortress. But now we're actually introducing to ourselves this probably is the most deadliest obstacle throughout the whole entire game, and that's also known as Spike, but ultimately though, I decided to call it a Spike Pillar. Just because, well, if you're familiar with the forms of the new Super Mario Bros. Games, basically that's what the actual names were, I'm assuming. But anyway, let's go ahead and just carefully don't get hit right there. And also, as soon as we get to this next room, if you ever played Super Smash Bros. Brawl before, and especially noticeable with, you know, Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U, and possibly Super Smash Bros. Ultimate once that game's gonna come out, you probably recognize this particular enemy right onto the far right of the screen. We're actually introducing to ourselves these Hothead, and these little mini spark-looking enemies known as the, Little Sparky. So, these guys can easily be avoidable, well, as much as if you really want to do a spin jumps on those particular enemies like so. But anyways, enough about that. So anyways, here we go with Windy-O Koopa boss fight. Now, this boss fight plays exactly like how it does in Lemmy Koopa, except it makes it a bit easier, but at the same time, it might be pretty tricky at the same time, just because we still need to worry about the forms of those little Plutterboos scattered across the room. But the biggest, easiest method about this particular boss fight this time is the fact that the actual arena itself is actually a lot more flatter this time. And plus, I found these Plutterboo patterns is actually way more easier than the forms of the Lemmy Koopa boss fight. should say, I think Lemmy should be on Castle number 6. Well, they've already done that before in Ice World or Iceland from Super Mario Bros. 3. Windy-O Koopa in Castle number 6 has sang her last song. Mario must meet the challenge that he is now before him. There is a sinking ship that appears to be a gateway to the Valley of Bowser. Because yes, we only got one more level left before we're able to deal with the forms of the final main level in the game, or the final main world I should say. So anyways, here we go, on to Sunken Ghost Ship. So, and basically what this is the fact that it might be very similar to the Ghost House level, but we're going to be swimming for the majority of the level, so... And by the way, with the forms of that specific cutscene in general, with the forms of dealing out with Windy-O Koopa Castle, I actually really do like that scene, because it's obviously that Mario is actually technically using the actual mop, or the actual giant long paintbrush or something like that. It actually did manage to erase the forms of that specific castle, which is kind of cool. And yeah, you get the idea. So anyways, though, we got ourselves introducing to ourselves these Boo Buddy, or disappearing Boo Buddies, which basically, it feels kind of luck-based at times, especially noticeable if you really want to be safe. Then obviously you really can't afford to get hit by the forms of those, you know, disappearing Boo Buddies, which either way, it can get pretty aggravating at points, but as long as you're able to actually memorize the forms of the actual positioning, you have to be extremely precise on your positioning yourself, then you would obviously deal with that, but I digress. Anyways, let's go ahead and just wait for a little bit, and yeah. We should be safer now. And, of course, we cannot even bypass these little circling Boo Buddies just yet, up until right now. And enter this blue pipe we go. And you think this level will be over yet? Well, we got ourselves a free fall! Filled with, paratroopers and Koopa Troopers, and the deadliest obstacle of them all is these little spike balls. But as long as you're able to actually stand... Like, let's just say in this point right there, then you weren't able to land on that specific platform and hit that block, and then that way you should able to actually get yourselves another Starman, and then you should be safe for the most part though with this level, especially noticeable in this last section. And it turns out the end of the level is that we need to obtain the question mark item, you know, just like how it does in Super Mario Bros. 3, except, well, you don't deal with Boom Boom or anything, so... Anyway, since we've completed that level, here's the gateway to the final main world of Super Mario World. Or in this case, Super Mario Bros. 4 if you lived in Japan. And here we are at the forms of Valley of Bowser. But again, I'm probably not going to do that just yet though, because I might actually end things off at this point right there. So join me next time on Let's Play Super Mario World. Is the fact that we're going to get started by the forms of one of those 2 special worlds throughout Super Mario World has to offer. So even though if that's the case, then yeah. So yeah, see you guys next time. Later, fellas.